podcast today. My name is Cindy Speaker, and I have with me today as my guest David Daggett, an attorney with Daggett Shuler Attorneys at Law. David, how you doing?
Good, Cindy. Good to see you. How you
Good to see
doing?
you. Well,
Springtime's on its way, and it's starting to warm up a little bit.
yes, it is, and actually, I want to talk about one of your favorite subjects today, as the weather warms up, and that is run safety.
Yes, yes.
How many miles do you run every day, David?
Huh. I try to get out at lunchtime. It's usually 3 miles to 8 miles, depending on how much time I have. And on the weekends, I usually try to go a little bit longer. I love being outside, and as you know, I've got a little bit of excess energy in me, so I've got to release a little bit of that.
A little bit?
It's a great way to stay in shape,
Yes.
both physically and mentally. And actually, mentally staying in shape is very, very important.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I just read a book, and I forget the name of the author. The title of the book is Spark, and it's a thick book, but basically the theme of the book is that exercise enhances everything you do,
Yes.
mentally, psychologically, academically. You do better. They tested students that if they get some quick exercise before taking an IQ test, the IQ's higher.
How
The
about
grade on the
that?
test is higher. So I'm a believer in staying fit and active, have a healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
Enough of my sermon.
No, that's great. Well, tell us a little bit about laws that affect runners, because there are some laws that runners need to pay attention to.
Yes, there are. So running, the laws are pretty simple. You are supposed to run facing traffic, use a sidewalk if it's there. At intersections, you need to follow the traffic lights, guides, or signals, or whatever you have. But those are the laws. The
Okay.
more important part are the practical pieces.
Okay.
Because the practical pieces, you have to pretend you're invisible. Cars don't see you when you're running. They're paying attention to bigger, faster, more harmful objects than a runner who's out there. And so you need to be visible. So to be visible, that's bright colored clothing. If it's at night, make sure reflective gear and or lights. And to be off on the side so that you're compatible with traffic, not fighting with traffic. So that's probably the most important thing is they don't see you, so you've got to pretend that you're invisible. So you have to do something to be seen. And then second is just being polite and being a good ambassador out on the road is huge. If you're out running and you do something inconsiderate to a motorist, that motorist may be more likely to be inconsiderate to the next runner or walker or bicyclist or pedestrian that they see out there. So if you're going to be part of an active community, part of it is to be a good ambassador for that active community and to pass it along.
That makes sense. David,
So,
what do you think about running groups, and especially safety issues with groups?
running groups are basically good.
Okay.
Running with a friend. If you're running by yourself, you should let somebody know, basically what your route is and what time you're going. Because we've had people have some pretty severe health complications in the middle of a run. We actually had somebody in our neighborhood go down on the road, entering our neighborhood with a instantaneous blood clot to the brain, ended up dying.
Oh my.
So letting people know where you are, what route you're on if you're by yourself. Running groups are great. Lots of times the camaraderie is motivating and it's more fun. Running in numbers usually makes you a little bit more visible, so that makes it safer. The one downside is sometimes there's also that pack mentality or gang mentality that a big group thinks they can run down the side of the road because they're a big group. Obviously, a big group running down the side of the road is more of a hazard or an obstruction for the motorist.
Yeah.
So I always ask running groups, please be smart and please behave in a way that you would want a group of runners to behave if you were the motorist. That's the same with bicyclists. You go single file, you give cars as much room as possible. You don't a big group straggling through, let's say, a yellow light at an intersection. Well, a big group of runners, that can take a long time to get through, and that can really irritate motorists, which goes back to my principle of being a good ambassador.
Yes.
Is very, very important.
Yes. Talk a little bit about injuries and what recourse you have. Is it simply your health insurance? What happens in running injuries?
So that's very, very interesting. So the first thing that I always recommend is if you're engaged in a healthy, active fitness lifestyle, you should make sure you have good health insurance. Because if there's an encounter, I was going to say with a car, but it could be a car or a dog, or there's pedestrian bike accidents, or any other sort of malady, you're very exposed as a runner or a bicyclist, which means the injuries would be worse than if you had a bump up in the car. A bump up with a runner, as opposed to a bump up in a car, is much more serious and likely to incur more medical expenses. So protect yourself there. Now, the interesting thing is our automobile insurance coverage covers us in a lot more circumstances than most people would ever imagine. So, for example, in North Carolina, many people have what's called medical payments coverage on their car. That's like having health insurance on your car. Well, that covers you not just if you're in a car, but if you have an encounter with a car. So it covers you if you're a pedestrian or bicyclist. The same would apply to uninsured motorist coverage. That's when you get hit by a car without any insurance. Or underinsured motorist coverage. That's a car without enough insurance. Your insurance may step in and help you in those cases, even when you're a pedestrian or on a bike or out for a jog. The other interesting thing is sometimes a pedestrian, cyclist, or jogger actually has the availability to more insurance, and the reason is because they might be covered by anybody else in the household that has an insurance policy. So the trick to that is the books and the law covering that would stretch from here to that back wall back there.
Right.
It's very, very tricky and complicated. And that's why somebody with experience can help sort those things out and find a solution.
Yes.
So I always recommend that if you are actively involved as a runner or cyclist or a pedestrian of any sort, you should have very good insurance, health insurance and auto insurance, homeowners insurance, potentially also too could cover you. So very, very, very tricky, very, very complicated. We love for people to safely enjoy a healthy, active lifestyle, but you also need to make sure you have protection in place should that happen.
And speaking of protection, what about sun safety?
Well, sun safety is big, particularly, the further south you go. We have a good friend who's a doctor who specializes in surgical oncology. That means cancer surgery with a specialty of skin cancer and melanoma. And he is fanatical about, he recommends not doing your workouts outside between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, making sure you have a hat with a brim, make sure that you have clothing that covers your skin, and that you liberally use sunscreen. The nice thing is, in the past couple years, I just read about a new product actually today. Sunscreen technology is evolving very quickly, In the old days, copper tone, the basic copper tone type
Right.
sunscreen, if you would sweat, it would get in your eyes and burn, and you have to reapply it. It wasn't sweat proof. Today, sunscreen is much more technologically advanced. There's sunscreen that doesn't burn the eyes, doesn't clog the pores, and that you don't have to reapply as frequently. So you can enjoy being outside
Yeah.
safely in a much better fashion.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, David, how about sharing? Can you share a couple of your favorite places to run in the area?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of them. I have a loop through town that I love to do. That Winston-Salem's just perfect. I mean, it's big enough that you have all the advantages of a big city, but it's small enough that I can do an 8-mile loop, and I can go through down to our Greenway, through Winston-Salem State University, back through Salem College, through downtown, and back around. I get to see the whole town on one run. So that's one. There's all sorts of places out by Wake Forest University. There's Grayland Estate. There's all sorts of trails behind the Renolda Estate. And then there's some cross-country trails in the back of Wake Forest University. And the nice thing about that is on those trails, obviously, there's no traffic.
Yeah.
And then probably we have a number of parks with trails. Tanglewood Park has trails. Hobby Park has mountain bike trails. I like to run on them, but they're a little rugged. And then Salem Lake is just a gem. It's a diamond that we have. It's about a 7-mile loop around, no traffic, a hard-packed dirt surface for, I'd say, 90% of it. The rest is asphalt greenway, and it's just a delightful place to go.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's
well, now that you've shared your secrets, maybe you'll run into some of your followers.
Yeah, well, I do. I see a lot of people I know out there. Salem Lake is when my wife and I have time. That's where we go for our running dates.
Oh.
So if you see me with my wife, we're on a date.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, David, before we go, for those that do unfortunately have some type of injury while running, how could they reach your law firm for assistance?
Either through our website at daggett.shulerlaw.com or calling us 336-724-1234. And we have lots of tips and things like that on our website also.
Excellent. Well, David, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah. Good to see you, Cindy. Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
To those of you watching, you have questions, comments, you can leave them on this page, and David will follow up personally. Well, thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.